Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Regroup Show. I am your host, LJ Walker, a real estate investor helping you realize your dream of owning a home or investing in one. So, one question that I've been getting often is, how do you go about buying a home? Well, you see, it's not the same for everybody. There are more than one way to buy a home. And then in addition to that, each state is a little bit different. Okay. So I'm going to just go over what I would do so that I can help those of you who are also interested. Well, as many of you know, one of the things that I did first was I saved a lot of money. I made some sacrifices in the beginning, in my early 20s when I first got my job. Then the next thing I did was I learned how to invest. So if you are in a similar situation where you're just starting out, I would recommend going to greenpath.org because they have free financial counseling for you, or you can go to, especially if you're in New York, we have the Financial Empowerment Zone. We also have libraries that have free financial counseling that will look over all of your expenses. You actually physically have to give them all of your bills, and you go over your budget. You go over how much you make, you go over how much you spend, and they come up to you with a plan to guide you with what steps you need to take in order to start saving money. At the Financial Empowerment Zone, they also give you access to an investment advisor, which is also free for a number of consultations. And then after that, they charge you a low fee, from my understanding. You also can get a financial advisor from the bank. However, know this, that those financial advisors at the banks, they normally get a kickback. So they may not necessarily be giving you, they'll give you good advice, but the products that they recommend you may not necessarily be the best products. So that's why I believe that it's best, particularly if you're in New York, to go to a financial empowerment zone where they don't really get a kickback, or go to your library. And yes, in New York, we do have librarians. We do have financial advisors in the library that offer one-on-one counseling and can give you advice as far as what specifically to invest in. Okay, so I highly recommend that, as well as I have given advice on my channel where you can do a search. And there are also other YouTube channels that give you advice on how to save money and how to invest as well. Next, what I would do, particularly if I'm going to be buying another property out of state to live in, I would visit the local HUD office to see what steps are taken, because the way you close on a home in one state is not always the same way that you close on a home in another state. So I know everybody may not necessarily recommend this route, but I do. And also when you go on HUD.gov that is, and you go to the state that you're interested in, you can see grants and loans in that city and state that are there. And some of these preferred housing counselors that they have in those states and cities also give free counseling. Some of it is over the phone, and some of them actually do have the videos, live videos on their website that you can look over. Okay. In addition to speaking with them, and I highly recommend doing so, because There are some places right now where they're under eminent domain, and you don't want to go move how many thousands of miles just to have to pick up and move again. So that's another reason why I would strongly suggest going to HUD and speaking to a housing counselor that they recommend. All right. Next, you want to go to a mortgage loan officer. It could be one at a bank. It could be one at a savings and loans institution. It could be at a credit union. It doesn't matter. If you are a home buyer, then I would definitely go there and get pre-approved. Mortgage loan officers also should know about a few grants. Definitely check those out and apply. Now, if you are an investor, on the other hand, you don't want to go to a bank. Typically, you want to go and visit a hard money or a private money lender so that this way you can buy the property under your LLC and nothing gets traced back to you in the end. All right. Also, as an investor, what I would do is I would go to any community boards or any town halls in the areas in which you are interested in investing, any urban planning boards as well, so that you know what is going to be being built up in which neighborhoods, which areas is the city going to be putting more money into eventually. All right. This way you get more bang for your buck. Next, from there, I would get recommendations for a realtor. All right. Make sure that you check out the board of realtors for that particular state to make sure that there was no funny business going on with that particular realtor. Make sure their license isn't suspended or has been suspended in the past, things of that nature. All right. Make sure the realtor you get is in the neighborhood that you want to move to. So if you are in Staten Island, but you want to live in the Bronx, do not get a realtor in Staten Island. Get a realtor in the Bronx, in the area of the Bronx that you want to live in, or wherever you're from. Okay, I'm just giving you an example. The realtor should also know about a few grants. I'm going to tell you this, all of them don't. But if you are working with one that does, that person is passionate about their job. Most of the people who don't know anything about grants or whatever, a lot of times they're just working purely for the money and they probably won't care about you too much anyway. So that's why you should ask them, you know, what programs are available to you. Even though the HUD office, the mortgage loan office knows about them, realtors should know too. The next thing to do is when you get a realtor, you should tell them how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms you want, whether you want a garage or carport, whether you want to live near a train station, an airport, a school. You want to tell them, you know, whether it's important for you to have a yard, the age of a home. The more that you tell them, the better, because you don't want, like how in the beginning for me, where I was like brand new and I was looking at like 20 different houses. You know, that takes up a lot of time to look at 20 houses over several weeks, and then none of the houses fit what you're looking for or what you want. And sometimes they'll try to steer you away from what you want because they want to sell you something else. Stand your ground. If you know what you want, and go after what you want. Don't let them try to tell you that, you know, what you want does not exist. Okay, so just be careful about that. There may be some issues as far as income and then what you want, but just straighten that out with the HUD counselor first, because I found that some realtors are just not reliable. All right, now, for those of you who are investors, and even some of you who are home buyers, the traditional route of going through a realtor may not necessarily be the most cost-effective way. Okay? So you want to look at properties that are, let's say, for sale by the owner. You may want to look at tax liens and tax deeds. You may want to look at mortgage notes. You may want to go to probate court. You may want to even look at subject to lease option, lease purchase, and owner financing. These are other ways in which you can buy property, and these particular ways are normally cheaper than just going to a realtor or even going to a wholesaler. But honestly, I prefer realtors over wholesalers because realtors are actually licensed, wholesalers are not. Wholesalers will definitely find you deals though, but a lot of them are also crooked, sometimes worse than realtors. Just saying, letting you know. Next, once you find the property that you want, that you're interested in, then you go in to make an offer. All right. Now, I've done a video already on contingencies. I strongly suggest you go there and you decide what contingencies you want in this offering contract. A contingency basically is a way in which you would back out of a contract, because sometimes things look good when you actually physically go there. Things also look good may look good on paper, as far as the contract paper is concerned, but can you get financing? What if the inspection turns out negative? Those type of things. So contingencies is a way in which you can back out of a deal. So definitely go and visit that particular video that I have. I'll put the link in the description area. Next, all states don't require you to have an inspection, but I believe you should have an inspection. And then all states don't require that the inspectors be licensed. Some states don't even give their inspectors license. Okay. If that is the case, then I would say try and see if you can get yourself an engineer that will look over the house for you and tell you whether or not it's good to invest in or if it's bad to invest in. What are the negatives of the house? How much more will it cost to make any because the unforeseen repairs are going to be unforeseen to you, but the engineer, they're going to know what needs to be repaired and what doesn't need to be repaired, because their eye is way more trained than yours. So definitely get an inspection. In addition to the inspection, speak to the neighbors. Find out from people who live next to the property, have there been any floods? Are there any issues in the area? Things like that. Okay? Next, I recommend getting a lawyer. Now, all states don't require you to have a lawyer. I strongly advise you to get one, because that's how a lot of con artists trick people, is by getting them to sign documents that you don't understand, that you probably won't read. And then at the end, you realize that you made a grave mistake. Okay. Lawyers are also supposed to get title insurance from you. Okay. You want to make, that's the most important part of the deal, is title. Who is on title? Make sure the address of the property is correct when you get those documents, and make sure every name, the street name, your name, well, your name may not necessarily be on it immediately, but every name should be on that title. And if you don't get a lawyer, if you want to go the cheap route, I don't recommend it. But if you do, definitely get title insurance. Okay. And I would say when you go to closing, because that's normally the next area, you want to do a thorough walkthrough a day or two before you close, because you don't want for the homeowner to have a whole bunch of stuff just sitting in the house. That is if you're buying it from another person as opposed to buying, let's say, a new property altogether. And another thing, just because property is new, that doesn't mean that there won't be anything on the property that needs to be fixed. All right, so definitely, these are the steps. These are the things in which you can do in order to purchase a home. Quick rundown. Again, it differs from state to state and city to city. That's why I strongly recommend that you speak to HUD first to see what the steps are. Get yourself a housing counselor and then move forward. Okay, well guys, that's all I have for you today. Hopefully the information that I've shared will help you make smart financial moves. Feel free to pass this along. Remember, each one, reach one, teach one. Bye for now. Until next time, have a good night.